Good evening, everyone. Could I invite you to please stand? We give thanks, O God, for the men and women of the past whose generous devotion to the common good has been the making of our city. Grant that our own generation may build worthily on the foundations they have laid. Direct our minds that all we plan and determine is for the well-being of our city. Amen. In the spirit of reconciliation, Whitehorse City Council acknowledges the Wurundjeri people as the traditional custodians of the land we are meeting on. We pay our respects to the elders past and present. Please be seated. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. You may know my name is Nolene Duff. I'm the Chief Executive Officer at the City of Whitehorse, and for the one and only meeting in the year, that being the meeting where a new mayor for the year is elected, I am the temporary chair of the meeting, which gives me great pleasure and excitement, as the councillors know. I'd just like to introduce everybody this evening. Our councillors, Councillor Bill Bennett.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome.
Councillor Raylene Carr.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome.
Councillor Sharon Ellis.
Good evening, everyone. Nice to see you here tonight.
Councillor Andrew Davenport.
Good evening and welcome.
Councillor Ben Stennett.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome.
Councillor Prue Cutts.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome you all here tonight.
Councillor Andrew Munro.
Good evening and welcome.
Councillor Denise Massoud.
Good evening, everybody. I'm sure it'll be a really interesting evening and I hope you enjoy it. And the supper afterwards.
Councillor Blair Barker.
Good evening, everyone, and a very special happy birthday to the gentleman from the Fourth Estate.
And Councillor Tina Liu.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming, and it's great to see you all, and happy birthday as well. Thank you.
And can I introduce officers present tonight? Executive Manager, Governance and Customer Service, Mr Tony DeFazio.
Good evening, everyone.
General Manager, City Development, Mr Jeff Green.
Good evening.
General Manager, Human Services, Ms Terry Wilkinson.
Good evening.
Team Leader, Governance, Ms Jenny Russell.
Good evening.
General Manager, Corporate Services, Mr Peter Smith.
Good evening.
General Manager, Infrastructure, Mr Philip Warner.
Good evening.
Manager, Communications, Sally Freud. The Acting Executive Assistant to the CEO, Joanna Gorrid, and the Executive Assistant to Mayor and Councillors, Doreen Hastis. Welcome, everybody, and thank you to those in the gallery. I do just want to note we have two former councillors of our city in the gallery here tonight, and a former mayor, Tom Thorpe, and we also have former councillor Hayley Weller. So welcome, and I'm sure you'll enjoy being back here tonight. I'd like to start tonight with item 4, which is an address by and congratulations to the immediate past mayor. The immediate past mayor is Councillor Denise Massoud, who's served the city in the past year, and I would invite her to say a few words. Thank you, Councillor Massoud.
Thank you, Nolene. The first thing I can say is that when I was elected mayor, it was an absolute privilege, and I have thoroughly enjoyed the 12-month period. There are many challenges when you're a mayor, and we certainly encountered some new ones, I think, in this last term. But I think the cooperation and support that I gained from the organisation, particularly our CEO, Nolene Duff, our executive, Phil Warner, Peter Smith, Terry Wilkinson, Jeff Green, and Tony DeFazio was just amazing in terms of the governance and support there. And we have got some great administrative staff, so I acknowledge the wonderful support that I have had from Doreen Hastis and also Joanna Gorrid, who looks after a lot of the planning forums, etc., which is a big part for all councillors. So I really do thank the team for their effort. I also got a lot of support from councillors. There were challenges. I appreciated when I needed to talk to them confidentially that we did work as a team, and that is what it is about. You are the leader of the team, and it is really important to have those communications and some of them are easy and some aren't so easy and some are lots of fun. So we actually have a very enjoyable ride, I think, together in achieving goals for our community, and I think we've gone really well in this last 12 months. I've been really proud of what the council have achieved and how we have got there respectfully. The role is an interesting one. It has the ceremonial component which the community love, and I loved going out to all the community organisations and the opportunity. I learnt and met other organisations I didn't necessarily know. They were beyond my ward boundaries, and it was really an insight into just what a wonderful community we do have. There's also more than just the ceremonial part though. There's the researching some of the new trends, such as I guess trying to share the meaning of digital transformation, increasing knowledge of councillors, what smart cities and what does it really mean. And the big challenge was time. I think in the last 12 months I've hardly ever been home on a Monday to Friday night for dinner, and often on Saturdays not there. So it's a huge time commitment, and it's not just evenings, it's daytime as well. And so it requires a lot of understanding. So I particularly thank my husband, Mark, who's here in the gallery, for his support in allowing me to undertake that role and to give the time commitment that it really required. You're here to do the job on behalf of the community, and in my view, the most important thing is that we are there for the community, and we have to remember that's what it's really about. It's not about us, it's about them. And it does require a lot of time, but the community appreciate the effort that you make. And I guess they could be long days, sometimes start at 7, finish at 10 at night, and be running from event to event. But it is not just a title, but it's so much more, and you get so close to the community, and I consider myself absolutely privileged and lucky to have had that opportunity. So I thank my team of councillors for having elected me. It has been a great year, and I have very much enjoyed the privilege. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Councillor Massoud, and on behalf of the administration and the community of Whitehorse, we thank you for your contribution. I'd now like to invite any councillors who would wish to address the outgoing Mayor, Councillor Massoud. Councillor Munro.
Thank you, Madam CEO, and as Denise's ward colleague, if I may start. The Mayor just mentioned about representing the community, and can I say the community has had a very strong advocate in the Mayor over the last year. She's shown great passion and interest in various community projects and happenings, and has been a very strong interface and advocate of the work that Council is doing, but certainly been a conduit back to Council for the work that the various community groups are doing. This has actually been perhaps a more difficult year than one would have anticipated at the start. We have had a councillor resign during the period and a count back and a new councillor. So that obviously leads to some flux amongst the team, and the Mayor has shown great leadership during that time. We had very big decisions to make at the first council meeting of the new term last year. We ended up with a rescission motion that first evening, and we're back at the December meeting going through it again. So certainly trying times, and I think Denise has shown outstanding leadership and brought the team together through many challenges. They're not always challenges. It's also making sure things don't become challenges. It's making sure that we work through our council plan and we work through our budget. There's obviously argy-bargy between councillors from meeting to meeting as there's differing views on one issue or the other. But certainly the role of the Mayor and a steady hand during that process is most important. And I've been very impressed, and I did compliment the Mayor for her comments at the end of term function that we had as councillors and the executive just recently, and I thought it was actually the best speech ever by a Mayor during my time on council. And I think her words reflected the strong year that she had, the strong working relationship she had with councillors around the table, and the strong working relationship she had with officers and the organisation. So as a ward colleague, I certainly congratulate her on her fantastic effort over the last 12 months.
Thank you, Councillor Munro. I have been remiss in not reminding all present that the meeting tonight is audio recorded. Any other councillors who would like to address the meeting?
Yes.
Councillor Cutts.
Yes, I'd like to thank Denise very much for your strong leadership this year. Being my first term on council, it was a great or a steep, very steep learning curve for me, and you were always there whenever I needed support and some ideas about approaching things. You have been a very strong leader for our group, and we've come together as a really good team. And I feel that we've got a great team here at Whitehorse City Council, and I think we should all be very proud of what you've done with us, leading us along the way. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cutts. Councillor Stennett.
Yes, thank you. I'd also like to add my congratulations. I think at the start of the year I suggested I thought you'd be a very good mayor, and that's certainly true. You've risen to the challenges. It's been challenging, I think, any council first year out from an election with new councillors, and particularly after a few months, as Councillor Munro said, the flux of a councillor resigning and then a new councillor coming in. Account back, something which I'm familiar with, and I really appreciate the devotion to the job, the professionalism that you showed, and the experience that you had in outside life as your teaching background and management experience certainly, I'm sure, was quite useful as well. And you were a strong advocate for the council, as Councillor Munro has already said, and really appreciate your 12 months of service to the council.
Thank you, Councillor Stennett. Councillor Davenport.
Thank you, Madam CEO. To you, Councillor Masood, I'd like to congratulate you on your 12 months as Mayor. Being the first Mayor in any term, I think, is one of the most challenging times to become Mayor, because you have to integrate new councillors into a new team, undertake the council plan and a number of other strategic planning elements, and you've certainly steered the course quite well in that regard. We also had quite a contentious topic to go through, which was the Whitehorse Centre debate, and that was managed quite well as a number of other planning matters that other councillors have already raised. So congratulations on your last 12 months, and you've done a great job.
Thank you, Councillor Davenport. Councillor Ellis.
Thank you. Congratulations on a very successful year. As Councillor Davenport just said, coming in at the start of a new mayoral term's got its challenges. That I actually experienced that. You've got new councillors coming in, and you've got other councillors that are experienced, and getting that balance right of the new enthusiasm that's there and the other experience there is very hard. And as has been stated, there've been a lot of challenges this year. There's a lot of things we had to deal with in the first year of a council term, and you've actually done that quite well. And I think you've put the hours in, you've certainly put the hard work in, you've faced a few hiccups along the way in the year, and you've managed to overcome them all, and you've managed to battle on. So congratulations at holding it all together for this year as the leader of the pack, and sit back and see what happens this evening. So congratulations on a very productive year.
Thank you, Councillor Ellis. Councillor Carr.
Thank you. Councillor Masood, you have been a fantastic mayor. You have been an excellent mayor, and I, for one, thank you for that, for the bottom of my heart, and on behalf of all the other councillors as well. You have been a fantastic advocate for the city. You have held us in great esteem. You have left us in a very sound position for whoever is successful this evening, and that is no mean feat. You started off the year with challenges which everyone was involved in, but you were the head of the team. You were the head honcho, and it pretty much fell on you, and it would not have been easy. You then continued on. You had your own personal issues, which we won't go into tonight, but you held it together. You held it so well, and you absolutely surprised me, I can tell you, because anyone under that amount of stress would have found things very, very difficult to continue in the role of mayor and do it well, and you did that. You continued, you did it extremely well. You didn't advocate your duties in any way, shape or form. And for that, I will forever be grateful for you, because you did a really, really good job. No one out there in the community would have known what you were going through, and you did it so well. So congratulations, and on a very, very, very good, successful year. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Carr. Councillor Bennett?
Thanks, Madam CEO. Yes, look, I'd like to add my congratulations to you, Mayor, for a fine past 12 months. One of the things that that I keep in mind is the degree of fairness that a mayor or a leader gives to team members, and I think in the meetings throughout the year that you gave fair and equitable time to councillors, and I thank you in particular for that. I also look at what outcomes have been achieved over 12 months, and one that I'm particularly involved with, I guess, and certainly supportive, and I know you are too, and that were the motions that were moved at State Council and also in Canberra to do with increased funding for women's and girls' sporting facilities. And I think that's something that was unanimously agreed to by Council, but that was articulated both at State Council and in Canberra, and I think that is a great positive return on investment, if you like, to take a lead role in that space. So I thank you again for that. I think the other thing that has already been mentioned are the personal challenges that you've had in recent times, and the way that you've been able to carry on your duties with dignity and strength, I think says a lot for your character. So again, congratulations.
Thank you, Councillor Bennett. Councillor Liu.
Thank you, Madam CEO. Madam Mayor, I'd just like to extend my congratulations and thanks as well on such a successful year. Coming in as one of the new councillors, it is a steep learning curve, and you've certainly been most helpful in assisting sort of all queries that I had regarding all council-related things. So once again, I really like to thank you for your passion, your dedication to the job. As a couple of councillors have mentioned today, that we do understand that you were going through some personal circumstances, but I think the leadership that you've shown is very inspiring. So thanks again, and well done.
Thank you, Councillor Liu. Councillor Barker.
Thanks, CEO. A number of people have mentioned how unsettling it can be to have a count back and a new councillor come in. I didn't realise I could have that effect on people, but I'm not familiar with the turbulence that was that you flew through early in the piece, Denise. But I can say, whilst it might have been unsettling for the team, it's certainly somewhat imposing for a new councillor to come in to an existing team, to a very successful organisation that does have a lot to do and it delivers very important services to people. And I thank you, Denise, for the welcome that you gave me and the assistance that you gave me to find my feet. That was really important because it enabled me to settle in and to actually try and add some value to this team, most importantly to the people of Whitehorse. And one of the things that I've always held in the highest regard for leaders is endeavour, and that to me is what really distinguished your term as the mayor. You attacked it with an energy and an enthusiasm and a never ever give up, that you pushed on and on and on regardless of any of the challenges. Now, not all people have that resilience and that endeavour, and I think that has marked your time as mayor. We may not have always seen eye to eye on everything, but I could not think of a higher regard for you, Denise, than the way that you approached your task with the enthusiasm, with the resilience and with the can-do approach. And just wanted to once again thank you publicly for making me feel very welcome here. And of course, we've enjoyed very smooth sailing since I've been here, and that's thanks to your welcome, Mayor. Oh, Denise, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Barker, and thank you all councillors for your comments. Move on to item 5, Mayor and Councillor allowances. Just for noting, councillors, there's no council resolution required. I just remind councillors at the ordinary meeting held on the 20th of March of this year, council resolved the mayor and councillor allowances subject to state adjustments. So that's just for noting. Item 6, the term of the mayor. Councillors, before the appointment of the mayor takes place, council has the option under section 71(2) of the Local Government Act to elect a mayor for a term of 2 years. And I see 2 recommendations there, and I look to you for a motion.
I so move that we have a 1-year term, Madam CEO.
That's moved Councillor Munro.
Happy to second.
Seconded Councillor Ellis. Would you like to speak to the...
Nothing further to add, Madam CEO.
Councillor Ellis?
Nothing to add.
Is there any opposition to the motion? I'll put the motion to the vote. All in favour? Thank you for your assistance, Councillor Stennett. All in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 7 is the election of the mayor, and for the benefit of the audio recording, I'll just go through a few points with respect to the election of the mayor and the role of the mayor. The appointment of the mayor takes place in accordance with section 90 of the Local Government Act, which requires voting at a meeting that is open to the public and is to be conducted openly by a show of hands. As you can see in the material in front of you, councillors, the role of the mayor is defined, and it's defined under section 73 of the Local Government Act. And I think it's important at this time, as has been the case in terms of the outgoing mayor's reflections on the role of the mayor in the past year, to just take some time to look at what is the role and function of the mayor under the Local Government Act. So the function of the mayor of a council includes providing guidance to councillors about what is expected of a councillor, including in relation to the role of a councillor and the observation of the councillor conduct principles and the councillor code of conduct by councillors as defined in the Local Government Act. As you would know, councillors, there are proposed changes to the Local Government Act, which the council will hopefully see in a draft piece of legislation later on this year. And I think suffice to say that the role of the mayor in a council in Victoria is only going to be strengthened and have increased status in terms of the role that the mayor plays with respect to the leadership of councillors in a revised Local Government Act. The mayor also acts as the principal spokesperson for the council and is regarded by the community as representing the council as a whole. And the mayor is often charged with speaking publicly and representing council decisions to our community of Whitehorse. The mayor also has a leadership role in liaising with important community business and other stakeholders throughout the year to promote the interests of council and to promote the city of Whitehorse. And in doing so, the mayor in that role has the responsibility to reflect the views of the council as a whole, not their individual or personal views, and to articulate council positions and policies articulately and accurately. The mayor, by virtue of the position, is expected to foster positive relationships between councillors and to encourage cooperation among councillors and promote unity. And the mayor also has a role liaising between the councillor group and the administration of the organisation. The mayor also has a civic role, and that's a role that often the community see as the primary role, although in today's local government in Victoria, the role of the mayor is much more than just a figurehead ceremonial duty carrying out role. And I think it's fair to say that that duty to the community is one that they expect and demand quite highly in terms of time. So that's just a little bit of reflection on the role of the mayor for the coming year. So I now move on to item 7.3 and call for nominations for the position of mayor for the coming year. Councillors.
Yes,
Councillor
I'll
Bennett.
self-nominate, thank you.
Councillor Bennett. Is there a seconder for the nomination of Councillor Bennett?
I'm happy to second Councillor Bennett.
Councillor Davenport, thank you. Are there any other nominations, councillors, for the position of Mayor? Councillor Barker.
I nominate Councillor Davenport.
Councillor Davenport, you accept that nomination?
Do you need to second her?
Thank you. I will go to the seconder.
Yes, I do second. I do accept that nomination.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder?
I'm happy to second that.
Seconded Councillor Bennett. Any further nominations, councillors?
I'd like to nominate myself. Thank you.
Councillor Ellis. Do I have a seconder for Councillor Ellis?
I'm happy to second.
Councillor Stennett, seconding Councillor Ellis. Any further
I'd like to
nomination?
nominate myself, please, Madam CEO.
Councillor Carr, nominating herself. And do we have a seconder?
Yes, I would second Councillor Carr.
Cutts. Thank you.
I will self-nominate.
Councillor Masood. And do I have a seconder?
Second the nomination, Madam CEO.
Councillor Munro. Councillors, any further nominations for the position of Mayor? Councillor Barker, you were going to? Thank you. So just to recount for the benefit of all listening, we have 5 nominations for the position of Mayor, those being Councillor Bennett, Councillor Davenport, Councillor Ellis, Councillor Carr and Councillor Masood. So I'd now move the opportunity for councillors to speak to that nomination, and I will strictly apply 3 minutes per nominee, starting in the order of nominations. So with you, Councillor Bennett, please proceed.
Good, thank you, Madam CEO, and thank you, councillors, for giving me the opportunity of addressing you tonight. Over the past couple of weeks, I've given a lot of consideration about what the role of the Mayor actually might mean to me. It's interesting that a number of things have been mentioned tonight about the role of the Mayor. So certainly it's a multifaceted role, and it involves certainly more than the ribbon cutting and kissing baby type duties that may go along with the position of Mayor. There's also the advocacy role of the Mayor, and I think that's a very important part as well. But overall, councillors, I think it's the setting of the standard that's the most important thing that we need to expect from a Mayor. It's the setting of excellent behaviours and excellent outcomes. And I think that leads to leadership. So I'd like just to spend a couple of minutes talking to you about what I view leadership to be. In my view, self-awareness is a very important part of leadership. It's understanding what your strengths and weaknesses might be, and also understanding the strengths of your team members. Because I think it's a team effort. In fact, I know it's a team effort. That the leader of the team is there to pull together the strengths of the team members. And I think it's not a sign of weakness to say, maybe you're not the best at doing something in particular, but to have the ability to be able to use the strengths and talents of your team members to get the best outcomes for the team. I think listening is a very important part of a team leader. The reason we have just one mouth but 2 ears is for a very good reason, that we should be doing twice as much listening as talking. So I think that's a good analogy to use. So leveraging the strengths of team members, I think, is just an important part, just so important for the role of a mayor in the leadership role they play on council. We all know, for those of us who have ever participated in team sport, that a great team will always
20 seconds, Councillor
will
Bennett.
always be better than a team of individuals. So in my last 30 seconds, Madam CEO, I'll talk about change and the inevitable change that's happening in our world. We shouldn't be afraid to embrace change, but we should, as a team, manage change, because it's very important, I think, that we accept that things are going to be different and we need to get the best outcomes as things change. We need to build on what's happened with past councillors and executives over the years and stand on their shoulders to even get better outcomes in the year ahead. Councillors, I ask for your support in giving me the opportunity of being your team leader for this coming year. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bennett. Now invite Councillor Davenport to speak to the nomination.
Thank you, Madam CEO, and thank you, Councillor Bennett, for your opening remarks on Mayor, and I do wholeheartedly agree with the concepts that you've raised this evening. But councillors, I'd like to tonight talk about the general approaches that I will adopt if successful for Mayor this evening. The first is a principle about openness and transparency. I believe that decision making is best made in the chamber and will support decisions that are made in the chamber whenever possible. As a consequence of that, I'm all for fair and consistent application of the meeting procedure and code of conduct principles to allow that debate to occur and be clear in expectations and what those meeting procedures and code of conduct principles mean. I do recognise that the role of Mayor is being a principal spokesperson for the council, and it's very important during your mayoral term not to have a personal opinion at any level of government which could be seen as a muddying of your role as Mayor and your life as a private citizen. And therefore, if I was elected, I would steadfastly keep to council policies and ideals with all of my interactions with local, state and federal governments and private sector businesses alike. I've been asked about the casting vote during the last few weeks, and what I'd confirm is that I would support the status quo, no change. In council meetings, that would generally mean adopting the officer's report, which would be the default position. I'm all for fostering cooperative relationships and councillors' development, and I do recognise that there are a number of committees that are selected after this evening at a future council meeting. If I was successful in becoming Mayor, I wouldn't run for any other committees and give other councillors an opportunity to take committees like MAV, Library Board and others, which take the skill set of other councillors and utilise them for the advantage of Whitehorse Council as a whole. In terms of advocacy, the Mayor is one key point of advocacy with other levels of government, but as a Mayor, we're only a team captain, and there are many experienced. Thank you. There are many experienced councillors that are sitting around the table, and we should tap on individual councillors where they have a level of expertise or their own individual networks to utilise that for the city as a whole. It's an election year this year. I would have an open door policy and so that we could get our goals and aims as Whitehorse Council on the state government's agenda or opposition's agenda to get the best outcome. Finally, I'd like to touch on work and family. It's not something that's something that I do at a short notice, and I do have work and family that are supporting me in my endeavours tonight. I urge your support for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Davenport. I now invite Councillor Ellis to speak.
Thank you, Madam CEO. The two gentlemen either side of me are a hard act to follow, quite frankly. They've covered a lot of the issues that I wanted to raise. It's almost like we were looking at the same issues, which is really good because it's a great start at how we can work collegiately. Being a mayor is a great honour, as those that have done it before will realise. It's also a great privilege. It's a huge responsibility, and it's not just a step up from being a councillor. I've always maintained that it is a totally different job description, but you do that in addition to your role as councillor. And just because we're elected as mayor does not mean that we're not going to be still doing the responsibilities of a councillor, contacting our community, working with our community, and doing all of the normal things that we undertake. It encompasses great leadership responsibility being a mayor. You're the leader of the team, and as been mentioned by these two gentlemen, we've got a team of people that have got an enormous amount of skill around here. We've got a chamber filled with people with skills, experience, and the role of the mayor is to really tap into them, as was mentioned earlier. It is to make sure that you nurture their skills, you support them in all their endeavours, and you make the most use of what you've got around the table. And for me, yes, that's the crucial part of being mayor, and I believe that you're only as strong as the team you've got around you. And if they're not operating at their full capacity, you're not going to be shining as a mayor, quite frankly. They've got the skills, you need to use them. And any mayor that chooses not to engage with their council colleagues is a mayor that's destined not to achieve great things that year, in my opinion. The mayor has also got the role of advocacy. That's an important part of being a mayor, and that cannot be underestimated. We need to go out there and sell our municipality to the state and federal governments. We need to sell it to our community groups. We need to lobby for whatever we can get to make our city the great one that we know it will be. We need to use our political contacts if we have any, and if we don't have any, make sure the councillors that have got them use them, because we really need to get the best outcome for our community, because if we don't do that, we're not going to move forward.
30 seconds, Councillor.
30 seconds. As I've said, advocacy is important, and I've had a wide range of skills in that regard over the years, especially in the Eastern Affordable Housing Alliance. And if elected, I'll be inclusive. I'll work well with my council colleagues, work well with the community, and work well with the executive officers. So I urge you to support me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ellis. I now invite Councillor Carr to speak to her nomination.
Madam CEO, councillors, as Mayor, I will provide leadership and continue to support strategies and plans already in place. As a council, I believe we need to continue to advocate for the Box Hill Transport Interchange and lobby the state government for infrastructure such as schools, etc. We need to continue to support the development of the Nunawading Community Hub and continue to monitor parking issues around Deakin Uni. In addition, we need to keep a close watch on the transfer to the Crown of all parcels of land in the Hillsville Freeway Reserve. In short, for the benefit of our community, I will ensure we regularly communicate with all stakeholders, so we are kept informed and our stakeholders are kept informed. One example of this would be following up the briefing early next year for Vicinity Box Hill, to actually form a relationship with them, to regularly discuss their future development plans, so there are no surprises in store from either side. In other words, I will have the long-term future of Whitehorse in mind. I will work constructively with councillors and conduct meetings with impartiality and respect, openness and transparency. I will be fair and allow all to have a say, and in return I will expect respect for all and a collaborative approach. I will work with you and help you and achieve your goals and aspirations. I will be an inclusive mayor. In conjunction with ward councillors, I will arrange meet and greets with resident groups and associations. Ward councillors will also receive priority when a clash of dates occurs. Councillors, as has been said this evening, it's not about me, it's not about the mayor. We currently are a very good and responsible team. We respect each other's right to differ in our opinion, and I commit to continue to working together as a team player to ensure this continues. One person cannot achieve success on his or her own. It is only as a team we can achieve the best for Whitehorse. Each one of us brings different skills to the table. As Mayor, I will be the conduit who brings them all together. I believe it is incumbent on Council to listen, act and deliver. Councillors, I have the time, I have the passion and I have the commitment, and I ask for your support in electing me as Mayor of the City of Whitehorse for the next 12 months. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Carr. And finally, I now invite Councillor Masood to speak to her nomination.
Thank you, Madam CEO. It's an interesting thing, and I have contemplated whether or not I would or wouldn't put my hand up, but I have enjoyed the last 12 months, and you start to get things happening, and the advocacy for the state election, etc., is already underway, and you realise how important it is. And I would be foolish not to put my hand up and say I have enjoyed it, and yes, I would love to continue it. I recognise in doing that there is not a history in Whitehorse for people to do back-to-back terms. But I thought, no, that won't make me shy away. I will say publicly how important it is, how much I have enjoyed it. I've noted Councillor Davenport was talking about the committees, and I have to say that in this last 12 months I stepped down from certainly 3 committees which I loved. One was the Whitehorse Business Group, and Councillor Liu took my place and has done exactly what I had hoped, and it is putting the right people in the right places. Councillor Cutts went on the DAMP and on the Visual Arts Committee, and again contributed really well, and that is part of the leadership. And so I agree with Councillor Davenport. It is about putting people where they can make a difference and make that contribution. It is also making sure that we as a collective group uphold the standards our community expect and ensure that their views are heard and carried through, and that we get the best outcomes for our community. And that does take leadership, and it takes a lot of listening. And I think also there's been a number of people mentioning about how it's more than just the ceremonial part. The ceremonial part is wonderful, and I loved the citizenship ceremonies. They are just so inspiring, really. But yes, it is the advocacy, it is the connections, it's the additional meetings that aren't just in the calendar that you go and search for, and I have done a lot of that in the last 12 months. So I am stating, councillors, that I would like to continue, but I recognise if you feel that it should be somebody new, then I will accept that outcome. But whoever ends up being mayor, whether it be me or someone else, there will be my total allegiance to the team and what we all stand for.
30 seconds, Councillor Masood.
Thank you. And I would say that, as Councillor Ellis said, you still have to be a regular councillor, and so you are still running around doing things in your ward. It is very time consuming, it is extremely demanding, and you do need to make that space. I have the time, I have the understanding. I thank people for mentioning earlier that I had some personal challenges. My husband was in hospital for 7 weeks, but he's here today, and he's a great supporter of me, and so I will acknowledge that I have got his support for doing this, and I thank him very much. And so I'm putting my hand up. Probably a risky thing to do this year, but that's never a reason to shy away from a challenge. I hope you support me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Masood. We now move to the election process of the Mayor, and I just remind councillors that the voting process, in accordance with our local law, voting is compulsory, it's by a show of hands, and in each round of voting, councillors are voting once only for the candidate of their choice. So we now move to the first round of voting, and I will seek councillors' votes in for the candidate listed in order of nomination. So I start with Councillor Bennett and those councillors seeking to support Councillor Bennett for Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Bennett. That's one vote. Those seeking to support Councillor Davenport. So Councillor Davenport supported by Councillor Davenport, Councillor Munro and Councillor Barker. Those councillors seeking to support Councillor Ellis. It's Councillor Ellis and Councillor Stennett. Those councillors seeking to support Councillor Carr. Councillor Carr, Councillor Cutts and Councillor Liu. And those councillors seeking to support Councillor Masood. Councillor Masood. So councillors, we have 2 councillors each receiving a single vote, that being Councillor Bennett and Councillor Masood. So we go to a process of elimination by lot in accordance with our local law, and I'll invite not Councillor DeFazio, we don't elevate him quite yet, that might be into the future. We elevate Mr DeFazio to assist.
Thank you, Madam CEO. Just to explain to councillors and members of the public, as the CEO has explained, given we have 2 candidates with the lowest votes, the equality of votes, we need to eliminate one of them, and therefore I go to my trusty little ballot box, which you'll see is quite empty. There's nothing in there. And we'll be required to place 2 cards of equal size, of equal texture, which have been quality assured. And there you'll see it. One says defeated and the other one is a plain card. So I will put them in the ballot box, and then I'll ask the first candidate in alphabetical order to draw it by lot, which will be Councillor Bennett.
So thank you. For the benefit of the gallery, Councillor Bennett in that lot draw has been defeated. So we now move to a second round of voting where 4 candidates remain, those being Councillor Davenport, Councillor Ellis, Councillor Carr and Councillor Masood. So I now invite councillors, once again in each round of voting, councillors are voting once only for the candidate of their choice. Those councillors wishing to support Councillor Davenport. That's Councillor Davenport, Councillor Bennett, Councillor Munro and Councillor Barker supporting Councillor Davenport. Those councillors supporting Councillor Ellis. Councillor Ellis and Councillor Stennett supporting Councillor Ellis. Those councillors supporting Councillor Carr. Those being Councillor Carr, Councillor Cutts and Councillor Liu, and those councillors supporting Councillor Masood. It's Councillor Masood. Thank you. So in that round of voting, with Councillor Masood only receiving 1 vote, Councillor Masood is eliminated. So we move to a further round of voting councillors with 3 candidates remaining, those being Councillor Davenport, Councillor Ellis and Councillor Carr. So I again invite those councillors wishing to support Councillor Davenport for the role of Mayor. It's Councillor Davenport, Councillor Bennett, Councillor Munro and Councillor Barker. Those wishing to support Councillor Ellis for Mayor, those being Councillor Ellis, Councillor Stennett and Councillor Masood, and those supporting Councillor Carr, there being Councillor Carr, Councillor Cutts and Councillor Liu. So councillors, there we have 2 candidates each on equal votes of 3, those being Councillor Ellis and Councillor Carr, and we'll move to an elimination by lot. I'll seek Mr DeFazio's assistance to identify the cards going into the box, one being a blank and one being defeated, and the councillor to draw the lot in this circumstance in alphabetical order is Councillor Carr. So Councillor Carr remains in the draw and Councillor Ellis is eliminated. So councillors, that leaves 2 councillors remaining for the position of Mayor in the year ahead, those being Councillor Davenport and Councillor Carr. So I once again ask you to vote for, councillors vote for the candidate being Councillor Davenport for the mayoral year. Councillor Davenport, Councillor Bennett, Councillor Ellis, Councillor Munro, Councillor Masood and Councillor Barker. So that being 6 votes, am I correct? Therefore, Councillor Davenport is declared Mayor for the year ahead. Congratulations, Councillor Davenport. Now, for the benefit of the gallery, we're going to invite Councillor Davenport to wear the robe and chain, if he so chooses, to be accompanied and assisted by Mr DeFazio, and then I will invite Councillor Davenport to take the chair. Just chat amongst yourselves, we won't be very long. Please join with me in congratulating our new Mayor, Councillor Andrew
Davenport. Thank you, Madam CEO, for running the meeting this evening. To my fellow councillors, to the councillors that have supported me, thank you for your support and putting your faith in me and being able to fulfil the role as duties as a mayor. To the people that did not support me this evening, I understand, and I'll work with everyone to bring the team together for the year ahead. To the CEO and to the executive team, I look forward to a cooperative working relationship over the next 12 months with me as mayor, and so we can all continue to further our high standards that we have in the city and the good reputation we have in the sector as a whole. Becoming mayor is, when I decided to put my hand up for mayor, it's not something that I have done lightly. As you know, councillors, I do work full time and I do have the support of my work, but more importantly, my family, immediate family, to be able to fulfil the role to the best of my ability. Once again, thank you everyone for your support, and I look forward to working with you all during the next 12 months. Councillors. The next item on the agenda is for councillors wishing to extend congratulations to the mayor on the elections. I call for any councillors.
I would like to
Councillor
be the
Ellis.
first. Seeing I'm going to be sitting alone in this chamber for the next 12 months, I thought I should be the first to speak. Congratulations. You did surprise me when you told me a little while back that you were running for mayor. I didn't realise that was in your immediate plans. But you have not only stood, but you have been successful, and I congratulate you. We don't always agree on the bigger picture in the world. On a lot of issues we differ, but one thing that we do agree on and we're united on is anything connected with our ward. And during the last 5 years, I have worked quite well with you, as you know. Occasionally we have a few little disagreements, but one thing I can say about you that I've witnessed in 5 years, you're hardworking, you're diligent, you're conscientious, you actually read everything properly. You don't always interpret it the same way as me, but I'm sure once you're in this big chair, that will change. So I'm looking forward to a very interesting year. We'll have very short meetings because there won't be any notices of motion put up by Councillor Davenport. And I'm actually looking forward to see how you settled into this role. So again, congratulations, and I hope that you will listen to what I said earlier, which is that you need to continue your job as your local councillor, because I'm still relying on you to do those planning forums. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ellis.
Councillor Davenport, I would also like to congratulate you. Can I say with the utmost absolute honesty, the best man won tonight. And not the best person, but maybe the best man, and I do congratulate you, and I know you will be a very, very good mayor. You'll be a very conscientious mayor. Probably to the point we'll all be, thinking, God, get him over it, get him out. No, not really. Seriously, congratulations, and I do congratulate you, and you have my full support.
Thank you, Councillor Carr. Councillor Bennett.
Thank you, Mayor. Look, I would like also to add my congratulations to you, Mayor. I do also look forward to an interesting year. I'd have to say your past history, I think, holds you in good stead in lots of ways, in that you asked lots of questions of the officers, and I think also you put points of view that other councillors need to consider that maybe they hadn't thought of previously. So I thank you for those past challenges, and I look forward to continuing your intellectual rigour, if you like, for the benefit of our community. So again, congratulations.
Councillor Barker.
Thanks, Mayor. If I could pick up on what Councillor Bennett said. Congratulations, Mayor. One of the things that struck me as a new councillor here is the diversity of the elected team. Ages, marital status, home life, education, and you're one of the younger councillors, and I think that's important with a young family. And I think that diversity is only a good thing that you've been elected to the mayoralty. I've always been impressed with your thoroughness and attention to detail, Mayor, and your commitment to transparency is something that's always impressed me as well. I also know you work really hard, and you've been an enormous support and source of advice for me as I've been settling into this, and I thank you for that. I really look forward to working with you for your term, Mayor, and you can rely on my support, and congratulations.
Thank you. Councillor Cutts.
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to extend my sincere congratulations to you. I think you'll be a wonderful mayor. I didn't vote for you tonight, but you have 100% of my support, and I know you'll be in this job and will hold your head high as the leader of this wonderful council we have here. You are hardworking. You read everything with great detail. You add so much in terms of the balance of different skills we've got here. You've got some incredible skills, you've got incredible capacity. So I look forward to working with you. It will be interesting when you're sitting there in our council debates not to be able to say anything, because you always love having your say, but it'll be interesting to see how you are being mayor. But I have no doubt you'll have this year. It will be a great success, so congratulations.
Thank you, Councillor Cutts. Councillor Liu.
Mayor, congratulations. And look, I'd just like to say that you bring so much to the table with your breadth of experience and knowledge. So I really look forward working with you and supporting you in the term ahead. So congrats again.
Thank you. Councillor Masood.
Mayor Davenport, congratulations. I look forward to the next 12 months. You have some strong views, and it will be really good that you are there looking at all of the things and sharing your views and leading the team. I think it will be frustrating at times for you. I'll just warn you. Sometimes you're sitting in that seat and you'd love to be actually getting into the arguments that are happening in the chamber, and you actually can't do it at that point. So it does have its frustrations from that perspective, but I'm sure you will fulfil the role completely and all aspects of it, but it certainly will put a bit of a demand on your time. So, but I hope you have as much enjoyment out of it as I have had, and I look forward to working with you and supporting you fully.
Thank you, Councillor Masood. Councillor Stennett.
So thank you, Mayor. I'd also like to extend my congratulations. Something that I have seen and appreciated in you is your extraordinary work ethic to council and your diligence. As Councillor Ellis said, reading a lot of detail into the council papers and asking some really good questions, which is quite valuable. I was listening to your speech and I agree with what you were talking about in terms of the principles of fairness and openness and how important they are to you, and also the role of the council, the mayor as a spokesperson, and not to elaborate on perhaps your own personal opinions and what Councillor Masood was saying. So I look forward to that, and I'm really glad for you and the fact that your work and your family are supportive. Not everyone's situation is like that, and look forward to the next 12 months. So congratulations.
Thank you, Councillor Stennett.
Councillor Davenport, don't get too carried away.
Councillor
It looks like you're
Munro.
about to start your next speech.
Councillor Munro.
Thank you, Councillor Davenport. Well, who would have thought when I was driving you round to political meetings as a 16-year-old, you 16, me quite a bit older, so many years ago, and here we are now sharing the same chamber and you being elevated to Mayor of the City for the next 12 months. Can I congratulate you on your time as a councillor and achieving the role tonight? Can I encourage you to take counsel from the councillors around this table? I know you push the envelope at times, and I know I'm often pushing back in various issues that you raise. But I think there's a great opportunity afforded to you in attaining the mayoralty of this city, and certainly I'm happy to give my time as freely as I can to assist, should you so choose, but I'm sure there are others sitting around the table that have been in the role before and are more than happy to assist you as you go on a journey. I think Councillor Cutts talked about the learning curve as a councillor. There certainly is a learning curve as mayor, and we have a very strong organisation as a council, and they will certainly assist you in that journey. So I look forward to the ongoing debates that we will have, but I certainly look forward to you in taking a different role somewhat as mayor and taking the leadership role that's been afforded to you to lead the city over the next 12 months. Congratulations.
Thank you, Councillor Munro. Councillors, given that all councillors have contributed, the last item on the agenda is to close the meeting and to afford an invitation to supper, which is outside of the auditorium today in the room just out the back. Thank you everyone for your attendance this evening.